These two things, friendship and love, are going to sustain you through your life. Now, it's interesting. As you see, I have a very dense river of friends that have lasted all my life. And I've sort of listed them here where they start and how many friends that you come across, and then these people actually continue through the rest of my life. So down here, there's just like a big river of people that basically I have contact with, that I love, that I see, that that help me through all. If I have a crisis, I built a whole network of people that if I run out of money, I go, well, you can't do that. Here, have some money. If I, run out of time, well, please, I'll try to help here. And you just get used to the fact that that's how you help other people. That's how other people help you. That's how you keep everybody going along in this incredible stream. With my love life, it has been very small. That is, your model here is going to be different, but it's probably going to be somewhat similar. I've noted here, the blue is when you're just infatuated. This is when you're young and you really don't know what love really is, and you don't know how to love, but you actually find yourself totally obsessed with somebody and you completely can't think of anything else. And that's kind of the first little grapple you have with love. Some people keep in a state of infatuation, say, every 3 months or every 3 weeks or every 2 days. I've had a woman friend of mine, and she didn't believe that anyone lived unless they were in love. So she was in love 5 times a year. And she sort of had, 44 love affairs before she was, 40. And she was constantly falling in love and then just being totally disillusioned and, dropping the people and coming out of love. So that was her mode of actually dealing with this world. In my own, you also might have something that is an infatuation that you think is really valuable, and it's going to be broken by really falling in love. So you see the difference, and it's going to be I had a real conflict here because I was infatuated with one person, and then all of a sudden fell madly in love with another, and therefore you've got 3 people, and you're trying to jiggle this kind of very strange set of affairs. As you see, the first one was only 1 year, and this is earlier in your life because you're not equipped to be in love. Being in love it's a state, all right, but it's hard work. You really have to know a lot about yourself. You have to know a lot about the other person. You have to be really incompatible. And one of the things that I would say about this is just because you love someone does not mean that you can live with them. You see, you may not tolerate any of the things they haven't worked out. That may become the real conflict of the relationship that you have. You love them, you love being with them, but there's something different about being with somebody 24 hours a day. And that is what causes most people to have rifts early in their relationships. The people that you're not so equipped to really sustain that relationship because you don't know enough about life, you don't know enough about people, you don't know enough about yourself, you don't know enough about sex, you don't know, you may be lousy, you need some more practice. The thing about it is that all of these elements add up to whether that's going to last or not. And the thing is that this is a really, difficult thing for you to actually deal with. Secondly, what happens is that they seem to get longer. You see, it starts out a year, the next time it's 4 years. And that's a very, very big love affair that's sort of like the love of your life. And the next one's 5 years. But they come intermittently, so that it doesn't mean there isn't anything in the middle, but the things in the middle aren't very significant. I mean, it doesn't mean you don't have relationships, you haven't met people and all that. You will do that all the time, but something will come along that when you look back on it, you'll know that, well, I had 3 people that I truly loved. Now, the interesting thing about my love affairs is each of these people, when it's over, they come up into the stream of friends. And so each one of these people have stayed friends the rest of my life, and they've been a sustaining element in my life. And so that's somewhat rare. You may not have that when you talk to people that have had love affairs and everything. They don't want to ever see the person they don't have. But it's because probably you didn't have much in common with the person except finding them physically attractive and loving the sex and liking some part of their personality. You really do have to have things in common before that's going to sustain itself in your love affairs. Okay, now we get down to money. And look how I've described it. this is a very, I don't think this is a very ordinary way of describing money. I described poverty, and I described enough and extra. These are the only attitudes toward money that I think are going to be helpful to you. The problems is that with money, I would love to share with you, there is this wonderful interview I heard with a black man who had been a former slave, and someone asked him, well, what do you think about money? This man said the wisest thing I've ever heard about money. He said, you can't have too little money because you always are thinking about money, and your life is made miserable because that's all you can concentrate on. He said, you can't have too much money because you're always thinking about money and you're thinking about other people wanting to take it away from you. And you're also thinking that the only reason people like you is because you have a lot of money, and it makes your life very unhappy. He said you need to have only enough money so that you never have to think about it, because money is a thing and it is not worth thinking about. And that's something to really keep in mind. It's a thing. It can do wonderful things for you, but if you think about it just as money, you are basically filling into something that is going to make you unhappy. This is not something, when he said you only need enough, he said you need enough money, it's what you need, not what you want. And this opens up a whole nother area of thinking for you, and I hope you really think about this, because most of your life is going to be a conflict between what you think you need, about what you really need and what you think you want. You're going to harbor, because of all sorts of outside items, things that you want that make you think it's going to make you happy. But what you should be concentrating is what you need to make yourself unhappy. Happy or unhappy. What you need, not what you want. What you want has no limits. You see, you can have your imagination and all of that, but it can not at all meet your real needs. And to find out your needs, you really have to be introspective. You really have to think about yourself. You have to think about what does make you the happiest. Instead of, I'm going to be made so happy that $45,000 car, and I'm going to get it, and it's just going to make me so happy. You can actually have fantasies about that, but it doesn't have anything to do with reality. Now, you can say everyone has different thresholds about what they really need, and that's true. And the thing is, but I think if you keep that in mind, it's going to be a rule that's going to carry you through life well, because you're going to be concentrating on things that are really valuable. What do you need to make yourself, put yourself in a state of well-being? And people can give you lectures, about what you need, but you're going to find that out yourself. Everybody needs different things, and you're going to need different things that you have to discover. And that's what being self-aware is all about, is trying to really figure out how you function well, how you function the best, how you don't function, what makes you really unhappy. Now, some things make you unhappy naturally. Disappointment. To be disappointed is to be naturally a bit unhappy. You should be sad about that. It was you expected something, it didn't happen, that's sort of disappointing. Please, you should never be angry. That's a disproportionate emotion. Obviously, if you read the little book on emotion, you should know, but it has a lot to do with money, it has a lot to do with friendships, and it has a lot to do with how you conduct your life. In my case, as you see, I've had so many bouts with poverty that they've just almost become hermetic. And this is very interesting because my childhood was one of enormous extras. My childhood was totally luxurious. I was given every single possible thing I wanted, and I lived in total luxury. The minute you start becoming an artist, you realize that there's not really ways that you can make money and still work at what you want to do. You have to sacrifice the idea of having money, or at least I felt that you did, and most people do. So you have to make some sacrifices, weigh one thing against the other. But it's interesting if you look at all of the bouts, the low marks of the poverty bouts, how cyclic this is. And so it means that I'm just stuck. I define poverty for myself as when you have only $100 to your name and you have no idea where any more money's coming from. And you say, $300 rent. That's what you would call a state of poverty. What it means is that you have to somehow ingeniously jiggle. Now, some of this is self-induced, because, quite frankly, in my own case, I had a family that was made miserable by money. My father was thrown into such depression because of his absolute obsession with money and the fact that he had failed in business and that he had to pay his debts back. It made my father miserable, and my mother was made miserable because she was extravagant, and my father hated her for it, and this caused most of the troubles in the household. And it also led to them both being dementedly unhappy, and it was all a source of money. So as a child, I saw money as this horrible black thing that you wanted to avoid, that somehow this was the threshold of all your unhappiness. So I had a very perverted idea about money in the first half. I also felt that an artist that really basically had integrity couldn't make money doing something that wasn't really, the right thing. And so therefore I basically had to wait until I could build my own base. Thank God, you see, I had parents. You look at how far, all the way up until maybe I'm 24, 25, my parents are still sending me money. I'm still being supported by my family after I'm out of school 4 years and everything. They're still filling in. So it's something that you might prepare your parents for.